to the Made for Business show, where Catholic moms come to learn how to build a business that is simple, holy, and profitable. I am your host, Sterling Jakewith, and today we're talking about feeling discouraged in your business. The majority of the coaching that I do is about feeling discouraged. This isn't working. I don't know if I should be doing this. I'm trying so hard. Technology is annoying. I don't get the social media thing. Nobody's buying my thing. Right? Just this general sense of discouragement. And then my clients, they come to me and they tell me what they're discouraged about. And they're like, see these things? And I can tell what they're really asking me is, Sterling, do you think I have what it takes? Do you think I should quit? Was I wrong? Maybe God didn't ask me to do this and I just wanted it for me and really he just wants me to pack it in and stay home with my kids. And I did another episode about knowing when to quit. So if you're really thinking about quitting your business, you should listen to that episode. But I want you to see that a lot of you are experiencing the emotion of discouragement and then asking yourself, am I good enough? Should I quit? Was this a mistake? And the work that I teach is largely based on slowing down your thinking to see what's in there. I want you to be the watcher of your thoughts. So if you're feeling really discouraged, which is a very yucky feeling, and it just kind of grabs a hold of your body, and it's, at least for me, it swirls around in my chest, and it just feels stormy and dark, and I feel so sad, and I really don't like feeling the feeling of discouragement. And in an effort to not feel the feeling of discouragement, we will do whatever we do to escape it. So you might start eating cookies. You might pour yourself a glass of wine. You might frantically start playing with your spreadsheets. You might even do things that are productive, but you're doing them from this kind of like escapist, I got to get out of here. I can't feel the feeling of discouragement. But instead, I want to invite you to just sit down and I want you to do what we call thought download. And a thought download is all the stuff that's rattling around in your mind that's leading to this overwhelming feeling of discouragement. Literally, so in the Made for Business Society, they post things in Slack. They can message me every day, except Sundays. I mean, they can message me on Sunday, but I don't respond. And I'm just going, okay, I got you. I love you. Let's take a look at this. And it'll be paragraphs of things. And then I just begin asking them really calm questions about their things. What did you mean by this? Can you tell me exactly the number? Right? So a lot of them are like, nothing's working. I'm like, okay, how much have you sold this month? And it might be $0 and it might be $3,000. Like, we don't know, but I just really try to get them to look at the facts because their brain is just spinning this story. And my brain does this too. I just coach myself and I have a coach who does the same thing for me. But you can do this on your own where you take out a piece of paper. So you do this thought download, you write them all down. Okay. And then if you want to be fancy, you can get colored pencils and you can use, like I would probably use blue to underline facts. And I would use red to underline probably opinions or exaggeration. So anytime I use the word always or never or enough, because it's pretty hard to measure enoughness. And then in another color, let's say green, I'd go in and I would ask coaching questions. So you can just pretend that I'm sitting with you. And you'd be like, if I said this sentence out loud to Sterling, what would she say about it? And so a lot of times what I ask is, what do you think the next step is that you should take? Like if God did call you to this business, he's not asking you to quit. And so far, everybody's still doing their businesses in my group. Then I'm like, okay, so if we can just put that story down for a minute. Discouragement doesn't mean we should quit. It's part of the gig. Then, what do you think that you should do next in your business? Right? And I love the scripture passage, I am a lamp at your foot, at your feet, maybe feet. Because God does just show us the next step. And we want to take the next step with peace. And one of the questions I get the most is like, well, how can you work with me if you've never done the kind of business that I have? I'm like, I don't need to know anything about your industry to ask you really great questions to have you tell me what the next step is. Because the Holy Spirit lives inside of you. You have that wisdom. You know. And you can coach yourself in this way. But I want you to make time. As soon as you're feeling discouraged and stressed out, stop working. You're not working well anyway. It is well worth the 5 to 10 minutes to unscramble your brain drama. He either is calling you to it or he isn't. And if he is, then you need to quiet your mind and ask him, okay, what is the next step? What is the truth? What am I doing here? So let's just pick a few examples. Let's say you put together a new offer, a new product, or a new service, and you launched it and you were really excited about it, and it fell kind of flat, which, by the way, is an opinion. What does fall kind of flat mean? So that would be the first coaching question I would ask you. I'd be like, what does that mean? And then you would say, okay, I thought I was going to do X number of sales and I really did Y number of sales. And you're like, okay, so we did Y number of sales, and it could be 0 and it could be whatever the number is. Okay. What do you think about that number? And usually what somebody says helps me see where their insecurities are about themselves or sales or marketing or the product. We're willing to take something to the marketplace and go, hey, do you want to buy my thing? And have people go, no, I'm going to go make those changes and I'm going to offer you the thing again in a different way. You watch me do this all the time. I offer something and then the next time I offer it, it sounds different based on the feedback that I get. But I don't make it mean that I was wrong or that I'm not good at business or that I'm not doing what God wants me to do. It just means I offered something in the marketplace that wasn't exactly what the marketplace wanted. And it's usually not totally wrong. It's usually close, but then they want it tweaked a little bit. And then do you have the humility, which I think is so beautiful for us as Catholics, do we have the humility to know that all of it is from God and for God, and can you go back to your workshop and change it? I was picturing St. Joseph in his workshop. That's what I was picturing. That's it. When we have a product that's not selling, you can be like, you can spin a lot of stories about that, but actually you just need to go to the marketplace and find out why it's not selling. Was it the price? Was it what was in it? Did they believe it was going to work? And I often use rosaries as an example because there are lots of people who make rosaries. I see beautiful rosaries all the time, but I don't personally need another one. And so it has to be a very unique or special one for me to even go, oh, I'm kind of interested in that. So me walking by your rosary booth and not buying one is not evidence that you shouldn't be in business and that you're not listening to the Lord and that I don't like your face, right? Like this is what our brain tells us. It just means you need to do a little bit more research to find out what they want, or you might just need more eyeballs. So that's the second thing that I always ask people is like, well, how many eyeballs are on your thing? If you've got 100 people following your Instagram account and Instagram only shows your post to 20% of the people, then 20 people are seeing your offer. And I don't know what the actual number is, but I feel like you need to make like 100 offers to get one yes, which doesn't always mean verbally, right? But you have to make so many more offers than you think to so many more people to run a business. It's just a numbers game. But if you're having discouragement drama in your office, or you're avoiding your work altogether because you think you're doing such a terrible job and you're just cleaning your house instead of doing your work, then you're not going out there and finding the eyeballs to see your stuff. Maybe your stuff is great. Maybe your offer is fantastic and your product is great. But I was just doing some coaching this morning and we were talking about things taking longer than we want. And I was thinking about Dallas Jenkins, the guy who created The Chosen. And I have to go pull the numbers to find out the exact timeline. But he had this idea to make a show about the life of Christ and how he chose the disciples. And he went and like raised the money and he found the actors. And he has a priest and a rabbi and a pastor who all review the scripts. So as much as they can agree on what is in the scripts, he has all three of those religions looking at them, which I think is awesome. And then he made the show, which is, super hard. Like there's just so many roadblocks and so many problems to producing a television show. So he raised the money, he got the guys to look at the script, he found the actors, and he produced the show, and he launched it. And you know that God put this on his heart. This was just such a God-given mission, and it totally fell flat. Not a lot of people watched it. And it was so great, and it was inspired by the Lord. And let's just say the offer was really perfect. But it didn't become successful until I think 2 years after that. And I remember finding it or hearing about it enough that I was like, what is this thing that people keep talking about? I'll go check it out. There was like some moment where I tipped over. I had seen enough impressions of it, right? That's how we would say it in the ad world. Like I had seen enough impressions. And then I finally agreed to check it out. And then I remember thinking, this is really cool. We're going to do this as a family. And it very quickly became like a huge facet of our family is watching episodes of The Chosen. And my children have seen them so many times. We don't let them watch a lot of television, but we almost always will let them watch that. And especially that comes up a lot on long car rides. Like we'll go on a car ride for an hour and a half and they're like, oh, can we watch something? And we're like, no, we've never let them do that. But then we'll go, unless you want to watch The Chosen. And then of course they say yes. And so these beautiful Bible stories have been imprinted visually on the hearts of my children. It's wildly successful. They just raise gobs and gobs of money now for the show. They sell all of these products. But I want you to think about Dallas Jenkins sitting in his living room with his head in his hands, telling his wife, I thought that this was going to work. I thought God asked me to do this. I thought it was really good. Why isn't it working? And I don't have the answer for that. But I know that in his obedience, he just kept working because he knew that God was calling him to this and he believed in it and he just kept working. And then it took off like fire. I think it was 2 years. A lot of you feel discouraged after 2 months. A lot of you feel discouraged after not even really taking a shot, right? Like not even putting a website up and emailing your list. A lot of you feel discouraged because you've been in business for 5 years. And you'll tell me, I've been doing this for 5 years and I'm so tired and it's not working. But it doesn't take a lot of digging for me to find the holes. Like, well, I was kind of doing it, but I wasn't really consistently emailing my list. I kept changing what I was doing. And I'm not saying those things are wrong or bad. They're just explanations for why the company isn't solid yet. And that's okay. But don't use discouragement as a reason to quit if God hasn't asked you to quit yet. What I want all of you to just bring yourself to the cross with such humility that you're like, all right, Lord, you're calling me to this. Where is my growth? Where is my work? Where am I hiding? What do I need to do that I'm not doing? Almost always we know what we need to be doing and we're just not doing it. That is true for me all the time. I talk to you about my prayer life and I discern all these things and I work from peace and conviction and I get a lot of stuff done now, like compared to even 2 or 5 years ago. It's incredible. And there's still a list of things that I know I should be doing. And I'm like, I don't want to do that. I don't want to. But what I don't do is then go to the Lord and say, it's not working. I say, Lord, help me to desire your will and give me the fortitude to do it. I just tell myself the truth about where I'm at. And I actually find peace in that. I can find peace even looking at something and thinking, you know what? I know this would help my business and I'm just not quite ready to do it. But my hope for all of you is that you would recognize this feeling of discouragement and you would just see it as a check engine light of God being like, hey, you're on the road trip that I want you to be on, but this check engine light is coming on because you're just missing something. I don't know what the something is, but I would like us to stop asking all the time, maybe I shouldn't be doing this business and I should quit. Because I watch my clients ask that over and over and over again. And then in their prayer life, it's not the time to quit. And so I just think, oh, I wonder what we could have done with all that time and energy if we weren't asking that question. Now, for some of you, it might be time to pack it in. But my guess is it's very few of you listening to this podcast. And that discouragement is just actually a sign that you need to slow down and tell yourself the truth. I mean, I do have a lot of business experience, so I bring that into our conversations, but I would say 80% of what I do is just ask questions to my clients until they tell themselves the truth. And that is so powerful, and you can do that for yourself. And that's why I really like the exercise of a thought download where you write everything down and then you use colors to say, you know, this is a fact, this is an opinion, and then a coach color that's just like, what would a coach ask me about this sentence? And just pretend that you are a coach and you will be able to think of a really good question. So I hope this episode is helpful for you when you're feeling discouraged. And that now when you feel the feeling of discouragement, you're like, oh, I remember Sterling talked about that. I need to tell myself the truth. I don't need to think about whether I should quit or not. I love you. I'm praying for you. Get to work and have a blessed day.